Hey everybody and welcome to my breakdown of episode 1061. This is one of the most anticipated episodes in the whole arc. Ever since the chapter dropped, I wanted to see this animated, and as a big Sanji fan, when I heard Ryota Nakamura will direct it, I couldn't contain my hype. For a chapter that unfortunately had underwhelming action, to get the best action director, it was unavoidable that this is gonna be one of the best episodes in Wano anime, and that's a very high bar. Now let's get into it. Episode 1061, the climax of Sanji vs Queen. Directed and storyboarded by the genius Ryota Nakamura, with our chief animation director too, yong-ce, on the animation helm. The first climax of the last 4 fights. How good was it? If you have been following my videos, I talked before about the capabilities of Ryota Nakamura and his ability to balance an episode with drama and action. He's a veteran director who knows exactly what he's doing, previously guided big talents to where they are now, like Megumi Ishitani for example. Not only you'll see very cinematic and calm sequences in his episodes, but his action is explosive and fast-paced. Even when his episodes don't feature big names on the animation side, it ends up making a strong impression. However, unlike his previous 2 episodes on the arc, this one has all the talent and more, so naturally it's Nakamura's best episode on the series by far. The pacing in this episode was nearly perfect. There was a little flashback with Osome, but other than that, everything flows well, especially thanks to Nakamura's amazing additions regarding Sanji's character. Right at the beginning, with no recap, we get a cinematic sequence with aspect ratio about Germa's terror. It perfectly portrays them as the evil force they are. I absolutely love the use of colors, and this whole section feels like the beginning of a war movie. It was cold-blooded, with many chilling shots. One of the things Nakamura nails in this episode is the scale of the battle and size difference between the 2 characters, and that's seen right from the get-go of the action. His work will naturally amplify the capabilities of the talent on the episode, but my god, the dramatic additions to this episode elevated this fight on the highest degree possible. The emotional yet symbolic scenes of Sanji chained by his past, wearing the helmet, then going towards his crew, and what makes it even better is the absolutely amazing compositing and animation supervision. It's the definition of the quote movie quality. Each shot could be a wallpaper. Some shots look like actual paintings. Now let's get into the animation side, and oh my god. There's many amazing animators on this episode, but there's 3 absolute monsters that stood out too much. Now let's start from the beginning of the action. Sparky and Queen was pretty well animated. I liked Sanji's acrobatic movements, dodging the beams. Henry Queen was quite limited in movements, but the effects work was good enough to make it work. But I do wish it was a bit better. We get a very dynamic sequence by Faster. Cool skywalk stuff. Sanji was so fast he needed faster. Okay, terrible joke aside. Overall, great smears and effects work. For sure one of the cooler bits of the first half of the action, but enters the star of the first half. Naotoshi Shira, the absolute legend. This is by far my favorite Shira scene in the entirety of Wano. He did full 2 minutes, I think. I've always thought he's a cool animator for Sanji specifically, because not only his fire effects are amazing, but the body movements are so fluid. They are perfect for Sanji's fighting style. He animated some cool fast-paced close combat, then Winch Queen, and it was a very intense scene with amazing background animation and force behind it. Unfortunately, I'm not a fan of the OST choice. Pretty goofy for such an attack, but other than that, it was cool. Shira proceeds to be a beast and also does the flange shot. My favorite bit is how the fire is activated. The way Sanji's leg just swirls before the fire is a very nice touch. First half ends with Sanji's determination burning through the screen. Now the second half madness starts. When reading the chapter, one of the most difficult scenes I imagined to get adapted is Queen's stealth black. It could have been so flat and lifeless, but the way it was visualized was easily the best yet, much better than previous stealth black. The section was animated by Wang Rongzi, who's the friend of yong-ce. I love the rotation bits as Sanji searches for Queen. Highlighting Sanji's speed was a crucial thing for the adaptation of this bit. An animator called Semi-Automatic, I think, animated Sanji disappearing, and I was surprised with how good it was. Such a great depiction of speed. It had great background animation as Sanji smears his way out of visible sight. You'll notice the second half being much more intense on the artwork side as well. To Yong-ce's corrections were some of his best. First half was basically Shingaki's animation supervision, which wasn't bad. I actually got a lot of respect for him as he keeps improving. The flashback with Queen featured phenomenal art by Tu. Trust me when I say I'll talk a lot about our MVP in a bit. One of the coolest upcoming animators we've been getting in recent times is Tomoyuki Takahashi. His scenes often get heavily corrected, but his strongest point is easily his effects. He did the initial Ifrit Jambi activation and kick. It was corrected by Tu, so it amplified the rawness of the scene. The impact frames were nasty. Now witness real cinema, real action, real shonen, real animation. Akihiro Ota is simply beyond our comprehension. And the fact that we had the privilege of having him on the combo had me so hyped I jumped out of my seat. And the fact that we got Ota's scene during the new remix of Sanji's theme made it iconic. This scene is just so iconic already. Ota's style is the definition of fluidity, purely unrestrained animation with loose lines, stylish movements, absolutely amazing choreography, sense of scale, impact, expressions, and absurdly good effects work. I made a whole video about Ota's in the past. This is even more than what the scene needed. Absolute genius of the man, without a doubt the best animated section of the episode for me. Ota is one of the greatest animators in the industry by far. As much as I loved Ota's scene, it was short. The main star of the episode is the main star of this arc, Tu Yong-ce. Jaw-dropping work, might be the best work of his career yet. What makes Tu so amazing, aside from his beyond human contributions, is the fact that he's experimental. In this scene, Queen looked very similar to Ota's Queen, to the point I thought Ota continued more on the episode. So there's clear inspiration here. Tu did the finisher, and oh my god, the flames are dancing before Sanji rushes in high speed to finish off Kaido's second command. Absurd background animation, absurd effects leading up to the final kick, which is the pinnacle of rawness. Tu's thick lines and brushstroke in blue and white and black, sending Queen out of the island with even more absurd background animation. The way Queen smears his way onto every wall was hilarious. I'm glad the episode ended with Sanji's moment with Chuji because it was separated in the manga and it made it feel disconnected then. And had people guessing if the fight was really over. It killed the momentum of the hype. This moment was very heartwarming and it further solidifies Sanji as one of the best written characters in anime. Overall, saying this episode is 10 out of 10 would be an understatement. I actually think it's the best episode since 1015. Call me crazy, I don't care. As a big Sanji fan, it was beyond my imagination. Sure, it had some minor issues and I would have preferred not separating the combo from the finisher, but I hardly see anyone other than Nakamura to Ota Shira pulling it off this well. The final fights will be revolutionary in the animation medium. This is one of the best episodes in all of One Piece and it's just the first of the 4 big fights. So you can imagine the big historic moment in a few months. By the way, it was confirmed that Ryosuke Tanaka is working on Zoro's episode with Ishizuka's biggest storyboard contribution yet. So I'm not even joking when I say next episode has the potential to be better animated than this one, because Tanaka's episodes usually feature some of the best animators. I expect the likes of Vincent Chan's art, for example. But I feel as a director I prefer Nakamura. Tanaka keeps improving though, so we're in for sure for the best Zoro episode ever as well. Even though the Sword Swallowers don't deserve it, they have been endlessly harassing the staff. Anyway, thanks for watching, like, subscribe, see you next time.